Disposable vapes have just been banned in the UK. This is to curb the environmental disaster that these things pose. 5 million get thrown away per week apparently, which is not just an e-waste problem but a serious fire risk as well. It's also to curb the steep rise in children and young people getting addicted to nicotine-based products. Seems like an empty elf bar in the boys' toilets is the new chewing gum under the desk. If you're in the UK, and I'm sure in many other countries as well, you've seen these things abandoned at pubs, bars, on the street, etc. And not even just the vapes themselves, those little seals and open stickers that get stuck to the ground are arguably even more difficult to deal with in public areas. So, environmentalists and parents rejoice? Well, let's have a look at the definition of what exactly has been banned as of the 1st of June 2025 on the UK government's website. It states that single-use vapes are not designed or intended for reuse. A vape is single-use if it either has a battery that you can't recharge or is not refillable. So to be reusable, a vape must have a rechargeable battery and a refillable container that holds the vaping e-liquids, such as a chamber, capsule, cartridge, pod, or tank, as well as needing to have a removable and replaceable coil, if the vape contains one. So one of these, no recharge port and an all-enclosed body. Banned. But in its place on all shop shelves is something like this. It has this USB-C port, which means that it's rechargeable, and it has these enclosed pods which contain both the e-liquid and the coil. So this is not banned. Are you starting to see the problem here? This is the old Lost Mary BM600, a quite popular disposable vape in the UK. You might have seen these around quite a lot. But this is the new Lost Mary BM600. Same name, same puff count, same price. But now it has a USB-C port on it, and you just happen to be able to take out the bit that contains the e-liquid and the coil. But this I have already seen in shops in the exact same place where the disposables used to be. And the prices of these pod refills isn't really that far off buying a whole thing on its own. So, what do you think that people are going to do? They're going to buy one of these and use it just like a disposable. But now the device that they're throwing away contains more plastic, more components, and has a USB-C port on it. So the e-waste problem is just going to get worse. This is the problem with well-intentioned regulation. Loopholes have already been found. Now the government wants to crack down on the skirting of these rules by vape manufacturers, but really this thing is basically just going to be a cat and mouse game. The real problem that I see here is that there's no real true solution to this. The government could just ban all non-refillable vapes, refillable being those proper ones that aren't designed to be thrown away at all when you just buy your own e-liquid and refill it with that. But this is what countries like Australia did, and in its place has risen a big black market for disposable vapes. And that helps no one, as the government then loses out on tax revenues and people start buying potentially harmful unregulated devices with even higher nicotine concentrations than those that existed when they used to be legal. India banned vaping entirely a few years ago, and they've faced the same problem. The problem with banning vaping entirely is that people who quit smoking for vaping, well, they might relapse back to smoking again, and that doesn't help anyone. So I asked my favourite management consultant, ChatGPT, for some ideas, and it came up with some interesting solutions. Let's have a look at them. Number 1, a robust deposit return scheme. So this works by paying a small refundable deposit, e.g. £1 to £3, on every vape sold. If you return your used vape, you get your money back, and if you don't, you've essentially paid extra for hopefully its proper recycling. Now, the problem with this is the integration of this idea in all retailers. They simply wouldn't have the cost or resource to be able to do this. I mean, can you imagine going to a Bossman shop and this being implemented? The next is standardized high-quality rechargeable devices. Now, this works by basically regulation enforcing higher build standards, making genuinely reusable vapes more affordable, reliable, and easier to maintain. And this can be achieved by mandating that all vapes essentially be refillable with traditional e-liquids in a little bottle. But the problem here is that that would then make it harder for people to quit if they have something more permanent. The next is convenient recycling infrastructure, basically putting clearly marked vape recycling bins everywhere, like shops, supermarkets, public spaces, maybe even integrating them into existing battery recycling infrastructure. I think that this is probably the most viable solution. With some government enforcement and some public funding, this will hopefully ensure that even though people buy a lot of these things, more of them will be recycled, especially as the new rules mean that there's more perfectly good componentry in them, such as the rechargeable batteries, USB-C ports, and the material in the coils. Apparently in 2022, enough disposable vapes were thrown away in the UK to create 5,000 electric car batteries. Noting that even though most vapes sold in this period aren't rechargeable, manufacturers often put rechargeable lithium-ion batteries in them anyway. Thankfully, it looks like there's already been a bit of a start to this from the private sector, so I guess that's what I'll be doing with these. Okay, finally there's increased producer responsibility, so vape producers are charged fees proportional to how many devices that they sell, and funds raised go directly into things like cleanup, recycling initiatives, and educational programs. Education and public awareness campaigns, so clear messaging about the environmental impact of vaping waste, targeted especially at younger consumers, and careful and incremental regulation, so tightening rules progressively, closing loopholes quickly, and adapting based on market responses. Again, all of these are great initiatives if they're implemented effectively. But for now, I'd be interested to see what the current disposable ban does for key numbers in the UK, those being 5 million vapes thrown away per week, 9% of 11 to 15-year-olds using them, yeah, that's a bad one, and 11% of the adult population that vapes, noting that a reduction in these numbers is probably only arguably successful as long as we don't see a rise in smoking in parallel, or even the increase in usage of things like nicotine pouches. So this is a completely different video than usual, but I thought I'd just put my thoughts out there and put this extra bonus video out in the week. But if you have any ideas or thoughts on how the situation can be improved, please do leave a comment down below, along with a like if you enjoyed this video. Now, to have a look at my more usual content, click here to see a video that YouTube has picked for you. Until next time.